Hello everyone. Now we are going to discuss about Emile Durkheim, 1858 to 1917, and life and works of Emile Durkheim, social fact, division of labor in society, society, elementary form of religious life, theory of totemism and functionalism. These are the theory of Emile Durkheim. And the conclusion, after Auguste Comte, Emile Durkheim is perhaps the most significant. He is very scientific and smart personality in sociology, French social thinker whose contribution to sociological thought can hardly be underestimated. The core of Durkheim's approach is sometimes described as sociological realism, in the sense that he ascribed ultimate social reality to the group. He is the representative of group. He favored always about group and society, not the individual. In this respect, Durkheim's views were similar to those of Gombrowicz. So he is the leader of group and consciousness of group. The core of Durkheim's approach is termed as sociological realism. Durkheim has given more emphasis on the ultimate sociological reality to the group rather than to the individual. Here he states that society is sui generis, means society forms itself, not formed by individual. And in keeping with the tradition of 19th century thinkers such as Saint-Simon, Auguste Comte, Spencer, etc., Durkheim also believed that this new science of society, sociology, must be studied and interpreted on the basis of natural science, method and approach. You know, at that time evolutionary theory was very popular, and Darwin was popular, and every scientists on that time were influenced by Darwin. Important sociological work of Durkheim, The Division of Labor in Society, has been published 1893. The Rules of Sociological Method in 1895. Suicide, a Study in Sociology in 1897. The Elementary Form of Religious Life, 1912. Institutional Analysis, Primitive Classification. And most important theory of Auguste Comte is social fact. Auguste Comte favor to society and group. Then he is given theory about social fact. What is social fact? Durkheim has defined sociology as a science of social fact. Social facts are fundamental basis of his sociological thought. Durkheim explained social fact in Rules of Sociological Method. Durkheim's interpretation of social fact is an important constituent of its methodology. According to him, a social fact is a phase of behavior, thinking, feeling, acting, everything, which can objectively be observed and has a coercive or compelling nature. Durkheim said social fact has compelling nature. Actually, Durkheim told about some characteristics of social fact like generality and coerciveness, means compelling in nature, and exteriority. It is coercive in the sense that collective consciousness specifically differs from individual consciousness. That social fact belong to category of collective consciousness. Social fact belong to society, belong to group. Durkheim is pointedly precise that a social fact is not purely a psychological fact. Thus Durkheim draw to line of demarcation, one between collective consciousness and individual consciousness, and the other between a social fact and purely psychological phenomena. Durkheim said that social fact is completely social. It is not individual. It is not psychological. For this purpose, he introduced two objective criteria, exteriority and constant. Exteriority means it is above individual. It is not for individual. Social fact is not associated with individual. It is associated with society or social group. Durkheim places great importance on his definition of social fact in terms of exteriority and constant and as well as generality. Social fact is general for all, although it is very unfortunate that the precise meaning of criteria has never been clear yet from his fundamental methodological postulate. Social facts must be treated as things. Durkheim said social fact must be treated as things. And Durkheim infers that social fact must possess two important characteristics of a thing. It must be exterior to and not identical with the idea in the mind of the individual. And it must impose a certain constraint on him. It must compel. In other words, exteriority refers to the fact that social fact exists outside or exterior to individual consciousness, while constraint refers to the compelling nature of the social fact or collective consciousness. In short, social facts have a constraining influence over the individual mind while remaining exterior to it. So, social fact is not individual things. Social facts are of two kinds, the normal and the pathological. The normal social facts work towards integrating and solidarity of social life, while pathological social facts operate adversely, that is towards the disintegration of social life. Social facts are observable in the form of various moral, religious, judicial, logical rules and set of customary beliefs and thought. Social facts are thus the products of the collective consciousness, and as the collective consciousness is far superior to individual consciousness, so it is not individual psychological, it is social. Social facts always work for welfare of the individual or welfare of the society. And now we are going to, so in conclusion, social fact is not related to individual, it is representative of society and group, and characteristic is generality and constraint and exteriority. Now we are going to talk about theory of division of labor in terms of Auguste Comte. The second part of Durkheim's book, De la Division du Travail Social, deals with his theory of division of labor and provides us with the analysis of the nature and causes of division of labor. The earliest division of labor was essentially on the basis of sex. In the hunting and the fruit gathering stage, the male members of the family used to go out for hunting, and where the female were left behind to look after the family and for rearing and caring for the children. With the comparatively lesser number of people, the necessity of division of labor or specialization is less felt because of the self-sufficient nature of the group and the family. But as the groups grow in size and become more and more complex, the services of the experts are required, and division of labor in large scale operations become imperative. Specialization was compulsory at that time. When population has been increased, societies whose solidarity is mechanical are based on common roots of identity, similarity, undifferentiated social structure, and little or no division of labor. Inorganic solidarity is characterized by an increase in the density of society due to expansion of population, the growth of cities, and development of means of transportation and communication. The main characteristics of organic solidarities are following: larger populations spread over broader geographic areas, an increased complexity of division of labor leading to specialized economic functions in which individuals are more reliant on others to perform economic functions which they cannot perform themselves. System of social relations in which individuals are linked to each other by contract rather than by sentiment and obligation. Now, contracts are widely spread in this organic solidarity, a system in which individuals obtain their place in society by occupation rather than kinship affiliation, and increase individual autonomy based on a system of laws recognizing right and freedom of individuals. The development of contract law predicated on constitutive sanctions in which judicial rules redress social wrongs by restoring things to their original state. It is restitutive law here, and in the early society there were repressive law. Broadly speaking, Durkheim identified two different types of society which correspond to mechanical and organic forms of solidarity. These are segmental societies which resemble mechanical solidarity and advanced societies which correspond to organic solidarity. Durkheim used the term segmental to describe a type of society which is made up of small groups linked together in a defined social territory. Morrison explained the characteristics of Durkheim's segmental societies in the following ways. They are made up of small groups or segments separated into tribes. They have close proximity to each other. They have a division of labor which patterns their activities so that links of cooperation develop between the segments along domestic and political lines. They produce strong social bonds between the segments which are formed by social relations based on a common belief and social practices that have their root in religious laws. Durkheim tried to explain three primary causes of the division of labor. First, the change in the geographical proximity of individuals. That population begins to concentrate themselves, ignore confined areas instead of being spread over larger territories. This presupposes a certain tightening in the social fabric as its human element come closer together and more geographical proximate. Second is the formation of cities, which occurs as the first is population and second is formation of cities, which occurs as the social density is increased. This creates an intensification of interaction between individuals, leading to an increase in the overall social masses. As the social mass is increased, it tends to accelerate the mixing of segments into consolidated social organs. Third is the increase in social volume. This results when the growing social produces more transportation. This new form of interchange acts to suppress gap between segments, thus leading to an increase in moral density, intra-social relations, and frequency of contact between individuals. And there are much negative and abnormal of division of labor. Durkheim talked about abnormal division of labor. In the last and concluding section of division of labor, Durkheim focused on the question of abnormal or pathological form of division of labor. The term pathology derives from the biological science and is primarily used to indicate the occurrence of disease in an organism. Durkheim believed that social body, like the human body, to the state as a form of social pathology or more commonly abnormal form. In third volume of Division of Labor, Durkheim categorized three abnormal forms of division of labor, which are found in advanced societies. These are the anomic division of labor, the forced division of labor, the poor coordination of functions resulting from the division of labor itself. The first abnormal form of division of labor is the anomic division of labor. Durkheim believed that this type of division of labor arises because of the industrial and commercial crisis. These occur, wrote Durkheim, when social functions are not adjusted to each other. In this context, individual does not feel integrated to the society. A second form of social pathology is the process Durkheim referred to the forced division of labor. This type of division of labor arises of external inequality that fails to produce the natural demand of society. In brief, Durkheim's study of division of labor brings out his functional model of society. Durkheim sees division of labor as a process that would help individuals coexist and cooperate to each other. It binds together. In a normal situation, division of labor contributes to social integration by giving each individual a specialized activity to perform. Division of labor arises as a result of the competition for survival, brought about by growing material and moral density. A specialization offers a way whereby various individuals may coexist and cooperate. Durkheim does not merely look at the economic aspect of division of labor, but rather its social aspect, its contribution to social integration. Actually, Durkheim accepts division of labor as a social fact. This is the reason behind it. Durkheim do not accept about psychological fact and economic fact. Durkheim is the representative of group and society, and he talk about social fact is the representation of society or social group. So Durkheim says division of labor is a social fact, not any economic fact. Now we are going to talk about suicide. Durkheim wrote his book Suicide 1897, is cited as a monumental landmark of the synthesis of conceptual theory and empirical research. He used the method of a statistical analysis displaying sociological realism. This method had two particular objectives in view: to refute theories based on psychological, biological, genetical, climatic and geographical factors. As I told you earlier, Durkheim refute all theory based on economical, psychological, metaphysical, mental and everything. Durkheim just accept only social phenomena. Second thing, to support with empirical evidence his own sociological explanation of society. Thus the phenomena of society demonstrate the function of sociological there in empirical science. Causes of society. Durkheim rejected extra social factor in causation of society. The extra factor include hereditary, climate, race, mental, psychological, economic, everything, every factor. Durkheim has been rejected. Durkheim mentioned society under 4 types of heading: egoistic society, altruistic society, anomic society and fatalistic society. Durkheim talk about egoistic suicide. First type is agostic suicide. This type of suicide occurs when an individual feels himself too much isolated from this social group or society. This situation takes place when the integration of the individual with his social group is much disturbed, or when the internal cohesiveness of sufficient intensity is not maintained within a group. Under such a situation, every individual is over busy in his own way and cares for ones, so much so that some individuals feel isolated, slighted, hurt, and ignored, and therefore commit suicide. So, this is isolation theory. Isolated. Our modern society, characterized by impersonal, self-centered, and secondary associations and control, leaves the individual society isolated and entirely cut off from the normal contact of intimate, personal, and primary group, primary life. This is why, no doubt, a great many suicides occurs in modern society are a result of this situation. Every individual works under the regulative pressure of these rules and procedure and normally cannot go against them because they are the collective representation of the group itself. Means it is social fact. Society is social fact, and social fact has three characteristics. Generality, it is general for all, constant, compelled to all, and exteriority. So everyone is compelled by society. Now we are talking about second type of society, that is altruistic society. This type of society occurs when the integration of the individual and the group is too close and intimate, so much so that he is controlled completely by the group without any regard for his personality or individuality. He is only a member of his group and nothing more, and therefore can be called upon to sacrifice even his life whenever required for the sake of the group. So there is no individuality. So individual become frustrated. In short, self-destruction is caused under the pressure of social need or moral codes among the members of primitive groups. The pressure of moral code combined with the psychology of duty is so powerful that people commit suicide mechanically. And third was in Anomic society. Another important type of society has been described by Durkheim as society anomic, sudden breakdown of social equilibrium, such as arises from sudden business depression, inflation, etc. Societies after bankruptcy or after winning a lottery are example of this type of society. It follows, therefore, that such societies are only conditioned by some sudden disastrous change in the life of an individual. So, this is sudden. Anomic society is sudden normlessness. In short, Durkheim conceived of anomy as a social condition or normlessness or deregulation of normative structure, that is the failure of collective moral order to restrain the overweening ambition, greed, and unlimited aspirations. And now the fourth one is fatalistic society. There is a little mentioned fourth type of society, fatalistic, that Durkheim discussed only in a footnote of society. Durkheim mainly discusses about three types of society: egoistic, altruistic, and anomic. Very briefly, fatalistic. Durkheim stated that whereas anomic society is more likely to occur in situations in which regulation is too weak, fatalistic society is more likely to occur when regulation is excessive. regulation is excessive, then fatalistic suicide occurs. Durkheim described those who are more likely to commit fatalistic suicide as persons with futures pitilessly blocked and passion violently choked by oppressive discipline. As Durkheim cited the suicide of slaves who seeing no alternative under the master takes their own lives. In brief, Durkheim put forward three concepts making up a social theory of society: egoistic, altruistic, and anomic. The first two, society, egoistic and altruistic, explain society by looking at the framework of social attachment to society, which Durkheim calls social integration. The third concept, anomic society, on the other hand, belong to framework which explains society by looking at the change in the regulatory mechanism of society. Egoistic society results from the lack of integration of the individual into his group. The first type of society occurs due to the overdeveloped individualism, while second is due to lack of development at the level of individualism. Anomic society, in contrast, the reduction of the regularity mechanism of society, in fact, and fatalistic society has little relevance in the real world. In this study, Durkheim displayed an extreme form of sociological realism. This is very nice theory given by society, given by Durkheim. We can understand society in a different way. Now the theory of the elementary form of the religious life is very important. The elementary form of religious life is most important fourth major sociological work of Durkheim, written between 1902 and 1911 and published in 1912. This work is often regarded as the most profound and origin writing of Durkheim. This text is second-hand study of the religion of Australian Aborigines. Durkheim never went to Australia, but uses the studies of those who has investigated these tribes first-hand with some extra evidence from studies of native. However, this study is based on the description and detailed analysis of the clan system and totemic present in the Arena tribe of Australian Aborigines. He assumed that all essential aspects of religious life would be visible in the simplest religious form, and the most simple was totemic, found in society closest to the beginning of evolution. In fact, Emile Durkheim presented what is probably the most influential interpretation of religion from a functionalist perspective. Durkheim began with a reputation of the beginning theory is the origin of religion, beginning the theory of origin of religion, Tyler of Anomic, that is spirit worship and expression. Max Muller put forth the concept of naturalism, that is the worship of nature's forces. In fact, Emile Durkheim represented what is probably the most influential interpretation of religion from a functionalist perspective. Durkheim began with a reputation of beginning theory, the origin of religion. Durkheim made an observation on his theory of religion that throughout history worshipped any other reality, whether in the form of the totem or God, than the collective social reality transfigured by faith. In fact, Buddhism and Confucianism recognize as well as Spencer supported the notion as the most basic form of religious men have never no central good god or deity. Basic purpose of work. The elementary form of religious life has 5 central aims. The first is to study primitive religion and explain its basic structure. This Durkheim believed would lead to an understanding of religion and the religious nature of society. The second goal or aim, according to Durkheim, is to arrive at understanding of contemporary religions by going back to the most primitive. He believed that only by going back to the earliest religious institution can we understand nature of religious life. The third aim of the study is to undertake an examination of religion from the perspective of positive science. This is based on the rejection of earlier views on religion, that is animism, naturalism. This, he thought, lead to the discovery of most elementary form of religious life. The fourth aim of study is took of the relationship between religious ideas and organization of bodies of knowledge and system of classification. Finally, the fifth aim is to demonstrate that when reduced to its basic elements, religion is nothing more than the expression of society concentrated. Now, Durkheim actually told that even religion is social fact and representation of society or social consciousness. Origin of religion. Durkheim rejects animism of Taylor, Spencer, and naturalism of Max Muller as the explanation of the origin of religion. Both these theories, according to Durkheim, do not explain the distinction between sacred and profane. Religion is not a mystery, it is not belief in transcendental God, it is not an illusion. Throughout history, any other reality than the collective social reality transfigured by faith and called God means social reality or social fact is God in terms of Durkheim. Durkheim explained the origin of religion with reference to totemism, an example of which he point out among the Australian tribe. He writes, totemism is the religion not of certain animals or of certain men of certain image, but of a kind of anonymous and impersonal force which is found in each of these beings, without, however, being identified with any one of them. None possesses it entirely and all participate in it. So, independent is it of the particular subject in which it is embodied, that it precedes them just as it adequate to them. Individuals die, generations pass away and are replaced by others, but this force remains ever present, living and true to itself. It quickens today's generation just as it quickened yesterday and as it will quicken tomorrow's. Taking the word in a very broad sense, but it is an impersonal God, without a name, without a history, abiding in the world, diffused in a countless multitude of things. The definition of religion at which Durkheim arrives is: a religion is a system of belief and practices regarding things which are sacred, that is to say, apart forbidden beliefs and practices which unite all those who follow them in a single moral community called a church. Contrasting the true science of religion, as he calls his theory, to pseudosciences or the theories of animism and naturalism, means Durkheim point out it is inadmissible that system of ideas like religion, which have done in all age for the energy they need to live, should be mere tissues of illusion. It is commonly recognized today that law, morality, scientific thought itself are born of religion, have long been identified with religion, have remained imbued her spirit. How could a vain phantasmagoria have fashioned human consciousness so firmly, so enduringly? Central theme of theory of religion, in search of definition and central theme of religion, Durkheim paid his attention on two central parts of elementary form. First, he said that all religion can be defined in terms of a system of belief and rites. Belief refers to a set ideas and attitude held in relation to sacred things. Here Durkheim talks about sacred things. Religion is associated with sacred, whereas rites are defined as a system of action which is developed toward religion's things or objects. Second is that all religions can be defined in terms of their tendency to divide the world into two kinds of phenomena, the sacred and the profane. This division of the world in two domains, the one containing all that is sacred, the other all that is profane, is the most distinctive trait of religious life. So Durkheim differentiates religion as a sacred. Every sacred thing is related with religion. Sacred and profane is the central thing of Durkheim, central object. The division between sacred and profane is the central principle of the social theory of religion. And in fact, it is the most distinctive element of religious life. Durkheim believed that the sacred and profane forms the basis of religious life. The sacred to things human beings set apart, including religious beliefs, rites, deities, or anything socially defined as requiring a special religious treatment, participation in the sacred order, such as in ritual and ceremonies, gives a special prestige, illustrating one of the social functions of religion. Durkheim mainly outlines 6 characteristics of sacred and the profane. First, the sacred is always separated from all other objects and therefore constitute things set apart. Second, a system of rotes and social practices arises which sets out how the sacred is to be approached and how members of the group are to conduct themselves in the presence of the sacred object. Third, sacred things are things protected by introduction which have the force of prohibition or taboos acting to protect and isolate the sacred. Fourth, sacred things are segregated from profane things and are thought to be superior in dignity. Fifth, the sacred and natural form the spiritual world. In this way provides society with a model of opposites such as good and evil, clean and dirty, holy and defined, and so on. Sixth, passage from the profane to the sacred must be accompanied by rites which are thought to transform one state into the other through rituals of initiation or rebirth. To give a specific definition of religion, Durkheim believed that 3 conditions are essential for the development of religion. First, there must be the development of a set of religious beliefs. These beliefs are the representation which express the nature of sacred things and the relation which they sustain, either with each other or with profane things. Second, a set of religious rites are necessary. These are the rule of conduct which prescribed how a man should comport himself in the presence of this sacred object. Finally, a religion required a church or a single sacred belief, rites and church. Led Durkheim to the following definition of a religion. Already discussed. Now, Durkheim's study of totemism. To explain the more complex religion of the world, Durkheim believed one must understand first the simple form instead of animism and naturalism. Durkheim took the notion of totemism, representing Arona of Australia. It has always been mentioned. Now we will talk about the here actually Durkheim told that religion is a social fact and it represents the society and it is collective consciousness, and religion has multi-function. Harry Alport described religion of Durkheim function in 4 headings. Harry Alport told that according to Durkheim, discipline is most important for the function of religion. Discipline and cohesion and organization, vitalization. These are the 4 pillars of religion according to Harry Alport. Thank you.